This was the year I deserved the winter. And when it came, there was nothing I could say. I could not send it back. It had come for me. The pipes below the street burst. The locks froze. In the dark, as it seemed always, men huddled deeper into entryways, building blankets from plastic and rags. It was my fault. The winter was mine. One night, I was awakened by the building breaking. The ceiling collapsed. The roof opened to reveal the sky yawning back at me, echoing my escapist sleep. When the winter came, I thought it might never leave us, or would never leave without me. I began to plot how I might wrap myself in it, send myself back, beg a sparrow's wing, a pomegranate's ride. This was the year I was spider-bitten. The venom began at my fingers, and each hand kept moving to touch the other, fearing they might freeze in motion. It traveled as an icy fog through the veins of my wrists. This was the winter I studied each blue timber, but the map of my body gave no sign of a route or a causeway. Yet it was reason you begged for, which became one more breath withheld. I realized later that there must have been sun, but I had forgotten it. The church was sinking. The snow melted in cracks from above. I tried to will my lungs not to move, my heart to lie still, warm under layers. Why must the body insist? That which is enough to make me believe is the very same thing that makes me believe he is distant or has forgotten me. Buoyant, but I could drown in it. Faith that is the ocean, the floor. Why for? A wisp, a purr, this whip, this wind, this sound that meets its echo in graffiti from strangers. It was a man's voice in my ear. How many times had I heard this pleading before the winter came? There was that time, longer than a moment, long enough to watch the frost build upon the window, one thinly drawn molecule, branch at a time. That night when we couldn't tell whether it was the train or the wind we were hearing, and it was both. And we were in bed, and I wanted to tell you. I opened my mouth to tell you, and you were asleep. So I waited some more in the winter, my winter, and off and on, one of us was sleeping. In the end, this cold glass, waiting for us. Before there was this memory, empathy was imagining the empty spaces, pity, seeing them. Cursed to be so blessed, I begged you to beat me. What more evidence do you need that we've been given up? The sky gapes. To pull us out? A cruel, characteristic gesture when it came. It is heavy under this winter. Forgive me. I have thinned the skin from the bite and watched the moon fade to shadow and done nothing but throw fire against the glass to see its reflection. My winter would not leave me. It made me watch instead. I'm going to go back and read from the first book. This one is called a useless window. I could not throw off the wings. They had to be cut from me. A red room speaking of the night's egress. The wings are speaking. A white bird in your open hand in this red room. The brilliance of the moment in which the invisible gleams from the edges. Dayside, yet darkling. This too may expand into nothingness, not tear or collapse, when even the stars themselves will have moved beyond the horizon, beyond sight, to look at a night sky completely bereft and still come to know ourselves. Today, you not whispering, me not whispered. Light travels from its source and arrives unseen, observes the snow, the chemical composition of a heart, a fist of ice or atom of hydrogen. The commonplace might be miraculous and never enough. Other, was it built for this? I thought, but seemed mistaken. If it could be so divided, I would hold it outside my body. This is my palm. You place in it, which is to say you place on it. There are other containers. I do not know them as well. If you could look at me when my words find you, if you could tell me that they have arrived. This future and longing, a length, a thread. We could build constellations across the landscapes. We could measure the degrees and arm's lengths so that they would stay fixed and knowable in their boxes and frames. And us too, measurable. The finite is not romantic, but required of us. Ideas of primary bodies are resemblances, and the ideas produced by these have no resemblance. There is nothing like our ideas existing in the bodies themselves. The wings. I held them in my palm afterward. They kept beating. I put my hand to my ear. I felt the sound but could not hear it. Take them from me. Take them. Other, are you hearing this? The night sky dims. We will lose our way in these red chambers, our palms with the look of blood already. When it was cut, divided, or ripped from me, I wrapped it up in wood. If I hand it to you now, don't ask for my body. My body is a token compared to this. You cannot have both. Thank you. I'm going to finish with one more film poem. This one is a bit more, there's a little bit of science in that first one, and this one kind of goes a little bit further. There's kind of a dialogue with an astronomer in this. It's called Pandora's Starbox. You wrote, "Sometimes I think the sky itself might be one of my fantasies. I've never touched it. Dear astronomer, I felt it in the lake. The water lay motionless, silent, waiting. It was patient, and the sky was seduced there. The clouds lie upon the water. I placed my fingertips into them. I touched the verge. I kept it to myself. My secrets make me small. I share this with your stars. In their distance, which makes them small, they are secret keepers too. You must think they whisper to each other when you're not looking. Or even when you are, how could you really tell? That light. They burn their undelivered letters to you. But in this interiority of mine and theirs, there is an opening in. This opening, a unit of measure, a handbook, a handbreadth, a reach. Dear astronomer, I opened the box. It was me. There was no lock or key. I just asked, shall I? And the stars fell out. There was a universe before and after me. Then I reclaimed the box. To explain, I have given the box a window. To become perceptible, to be expressed, to permit passage, to make manifest. Maybe for all these reasons, it caught a cluster, a bee in a thistle, the spindle of a watch balance, the sun on the tip of a matchstick. I tell you, I'd like to put it all back inside, the entire globe and its halo. I've settled for having the universe both within and outside the box. You wrote, number is the within of all things, a tin and tiny, time-coded message. I have spied over your shoulder, dear astronomer. I've green-eyed the tables and grids you build. They are my steep edges and skin-rubbed cliff face. You have built a vocabulary in which crisis is the opposite of catastrophe. You mean to tell me that the turning point is not necessarily the final event. I want to listen. I want to believe that the stars are an opening out. I want to. It's not so vast, I want you to know. When I look out, I can trap it between my eyelids, clutch the sun as it flickers on dark water. It's archaic, but curious can simply mean to be made carefully. Is that it? An attentive but solicitous opening, the peaks breaking the line of the sky. Dear astronomer, what do you do during the daylight? Do you train your telescope on people across the way? Are you curious at all about earthly perambulations? Do you chart them, map them, trace them from point to point with a protractor in the same way? I once wrote to you and asked, why do people make love? It was a foolish question. I know. This box traps and releases desire. There are lots of names for desire, like greed and envy and longing and hope. But they are all desire. It's the same seashore, the same fisherman, the same afternoon that splashes light and fades heavy. I don't know why this one or that one, but I know desire. Dear astronomer, you must be versed in depth and know that so much is dimming that we cannot see yet. You know that this light that is our sky may have already disappeared. Does it seem strange to you that the stars are a record of earthly feats by heavenly beings? There are 18 moons of Saturn, and I am one of them. Yet I am ashamed to spend time worrying about the stars burning themselves into darkness. Perhaps it is because everything else has already fallen. I have had a hand in it. No amount of dipping into lakes and seas has drowned that. I want to ask you to make this vessel, this body, my carried it across this earth, if not across your sky. You've sat nightly and watched what I've put forth. Astronomer, you tell me there is geometry and the humming of strings. I've said it's all birds echoing in a cave. You tell me, make the blue a little more blue. I've touched it, I tell you. It was all there once, seduced for a moment, and it breathed light. Thank you.